Hey, everybody out there in the internet world. I'm back again. It's your favorite revolutionary socialist, Hippinator 13. And what I want to talk about now is Wall Street, the stock market, and, its history and what it is and what it does and how it operates. And, a lot of people don't know that the country, you know what I mean, when it was ruled by Britain, Britain was ruled by a stock market called the British East India Trading Company, and that's how Britain got kicked out of America. They were overtaxing the colonists for their wars in India, pretty much just like Wall Street's doing now, overtaxing the people for their wars, their imperialist wars in the Middle East and all around, and Europe. And while giving themselves huge tax breaks. And that's what culminated in the Tea Party. You know what I mean? Where they dumped all the tea out, the local marchers dumped all the tea out, you know what I mean? And then we had the revolution and everything like that. And they kicked them out. And what happened was after that is that George Washington let Alexander Hamilton talk him into setting up a stock market and a central bank. And this really, this is where, Jefferson and Washington were really, were really in contention then. They were really angry. But by the time Jefferson became president, Jefferson actually said he couldn't get anything liberal through the royal court. He was talking about a conservative court. It was the Congress and the Senate were stacked with, conservatives, French financiers, and all these financiers. And so he couldn't get anything liberal through the Congress, the courts. But modern Wall Street is basically, it's a Ponzi scheme. It really is. It's a scam. It's a scheme. It's nothing but a scam. It really only helps. Profits about 10% of America, which is about 33 to 35 million people. So there's about 3 million people who are not profiting from or benefiting at all, or maybe a little bit. Maybe somebody has a Robinhood or a Webbull app like I do, and you got a few stocks here and there. There's about 300 million people who are not profitable. And how Wall Street operates is like somebody will start a business. So if somebody will start a business and that business becomes hugely profitable, like they'll start a restaurant. And then they'll get a bunch of chains, you know what I mean? And these chains, they become extremely profitable. They become worth millions of dollars. Because to go public, you know what I mean? Your company has to be so big. It has to be big enough. It has to be big enough and profitable enough that it can sell all these stocks and it can be profitable to all these shareholders. And so your business has to be profitable before it can, do what's called a public offering, or it used to. They may have some different startup situations now. I think some things have changed, but it pretty much has to be profitable enough to sell all these stocks, because there has to be profit going to the shareholders. It has to be profitable enough to make shareholders lots of money. They say that, there's we have a financial duty to shareholders, which, it's absolutely, utterly absurd and ridiculous. And so after the owner of this business becomes, really successful and probably like a millionaire or something, he can go to Wall Street and say, hey, and they're like, hey, you know what, we'll turn you into a billionaire if you'll let us print up these pieces of paper and we'll buy them and buy them and sell them. And these worthless pieces of paper, they entitle these shareholders to the surplus labor of workers. It's literally, Wall Street literally exists to redistribute wealth from people who work to people who don't. These shareholders, they don't have anything to do with the day-to-day operation, nor the short nor long-term operation of these companies. Now, sometimes there are people who, like if the company does have a corporate regime, and there are lots of successful companies that don't operate with corporate regimes. There's a lot of companies, a lot of people don't know, the majority of the companies probably, they just have an owner or a consortium of owners. They don't have a corporate regime. that demands exorbitant, you know what I mean, undeserved, unearned salary, you know, exorbitant salaries from their, you know, the stolen from their workers. They just have an owner, and they hire a marketing and advertising team, you know what I mean. They hire accountants and payroll and inside outside sales, engineers and workers, and you know, and they just hire people and they just get the work done, you know what I mean. And they operate without these corporate regimes, and they operate outside of Wall Street. There's already thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of corporations and companies, successful companies, that already operate this way. And it's like I was saying, the Wall Street is only benefiting, you know, like 35, you know, like 33, 35 million Americans. You know, that's the 10% that they own 93% of the stocks. So 7%, it's been kind of argued, 7 to 10%, you know, stocks are owned by the other 300 million. And I'll guarantee the other 300 million don't own these stocks. There's probably not even half of those people dabble in the stock market. There's probably, you know, maybe 50 million or something like that, maybe possibly 75. I really don't know that number. But I know that not everybody dabbles in the stock market. Some people don't worry about it. Some people just go to work. They live paycheck to paycheck. They don't worry. They don't want to worry about that. They don't even deal with the stock market. They don't even care about it. They don't even know how it operates or what it does. And the stock market is sitting here stealing, just literally stealing, you know, looting and plundering workers, consumers, and taxpayers. These corporate predators, a lot of them, they don't put their wealth in cash because cash is taxed. So they put their wealth in stocks, especially a lot of, you know, multimillionaires and billionaires, so that it's not taxed. This is like Wall Street is like a tax shelter, and they gouge consumers. They're the cause of, Wall Street is the cause of inflation. It's actually the absolute cause of inflation. It's why when you go to a restaurant or a grocery store, the prices have been all jacked up for all these years. There's literally never been a necessity to jack up prices. It's always been to just increase profits. And these people, they don't really do this they don't really keep the wages stagnant so that they could be rich. They do it to keep workers and consumers and taxpayers powerless. That's why they put all of the burden on them, and they just sit here and steal money like a vacuum cleaner. It's really all they do. And Wall Street really, and look at how many times we've bailed them out. We have actually bailed out this, you know, this slave engine. We've literally bailed. They're already stealing money. I mean, they're already stealing money from workers and consumers and taxpayers. And then they want to come along and say, oh my God, we went broke. How? How could you go broke? You know, unless people didn't have any money to spend, because you stole it. And they say, oh, well, we need to be bailed out. You know what? At that point, it's at that point that the American people said, you know what? The stock market is not benefiting enough people even to validate its existence. It is a liability, not an asset. It really is. It's not what the stock market. And it's like I said, there's already tons of companies. There's already thousands, hundreds of thousands of corporations and companies that don't operate, you know, through the stock market. They don't have a corporate regime. They, like I said, they just have an owner, and it's not, people think that operating a business is this, you know, this sophisticated, you know, thing. It's really not that sophisticated. You know what I mean? There's lots of people who operate businesses. You know what I mean? And they're not the smartest people in the world. You know what I mean? Look at Trump. You know, of course, he inherited. Most of these people did inherit wealth, you know what I mean? And they inherit stocks, you know. And that's how a lot of these people get rich, and they live in mansions. They live up in these gentrified enclaves, and you never see them. I've lived in rich neighborhoods. I've lived up in gentrified enclaves, and there's a lot of people you never see them going to work. And they have a big, nice house and a nice car and swimming pool and a nice family and everything, but they, you know what? They never go to work. It's because they're Wall Street parasites. They're trust fund babies. They're shareholders, or you know, or something like that. Anyway, I just wanted to give people like a layman's, terminology overview of Wall Street and how it operates and what it does. It really only operates to redistribute wealth from people who work to people who don't. And we really need to seize all of its corporations. We really need to just abolish it, seize those corporations. Hold on just a second. Got an ambulance here. It's LA. Turn all of those corporations into worker-owned cooperatives. And that's exactly what we need to do. And do away with stocks. And here's what you do. Check it out. You tax these corporations on the front end. You tax them on the front end. You leave, and then the second, there's three tiers. The first tier is taxation on the corporation. The second tier is to leave the company enough profit to operate. You know what I mean? Leave it enough money to buy new equipment, buy all of the things that it needs to operate, all the materials, raw materials and stuff and everything, tools and everything like that. Equipment breaks down, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Leave the company enough to operate, and then the rest of the money, guess what? Every week, 2 week, however you get paid, all that profit goes straight to the workers. And guess what? There's no payroll tax. The payroll tax is gone. Sales taxes are gone. Property taxes are gone. All these different taxes, they're all gone. You just tax the corporations on the front end. And we need to make a law that says any taxes that are collected, any and all taxes, they absolutely have to benefit, the people who pay taxes. You know what I mean? The workers, consumers, tax. But people who are retired are also, they pay taxes too. You know what I mean? So they've already paid taxes. So it has to be, and what you could get, what workers could get, if you know what I mean, and you don't have to pay any taxes. The corporation's taxed on the front end. Nothing else is taxed. There's no more sales tax. There's no more nothing. You get housing. You get utilities. You get, you know what I mean? We could nationalize the the water, gas, oil. You could have, gasoline for just literally what it costs to refine it and ship it. You know what I mean? And get it to a gas station, and it'd be like $1.50 all the way across the country. Literally, we could do this. And healthcare, education, food. I mean, this is what taxes need to be spent on. This is what taxes need to be spent on. Communication, transportation. We could have a high-speed railway system linking all the major cities all the way across the United States. We literally could. I absolutely guarantee you. And you wouldn't have any payroll taxes, and you wouldn't have any sales taxes. This we could really do this, and this is why I say we need armed resistance. You know what I mean? We need resistance. We need to shut down Wall Street, shut down the Fed, shut down the central banks. We need to be banking through the post office. You need to just turn all these banks into post offices and just bank and just have you know what I mean? If you need a loan, you get on the computer, you just put in your name and everything, and you know what? Everybody's treated the same. There's not some banker saying, "Oh, what's this guy's name? Oh, his name is Tyrone. Maybe we ought to give him a loan." That's what they do. They really do that. It's called redlining. Anyway, this is what we need to do. We need to abolish Wall Street, seize all their corporations, turn them into worker-owned cooperatives. So that's the new model that other companies are going to have to follow that model after that, because that's going to be Wall Street's the model right now. After, you know what I mean, the new model is going to make it where workers have disposable income, and then you'll have lots that's spend at businesses, and all these businesses will be flourishing. It'll be a cycle. It'll be a really great cycle. I'm telling you, we can really do this. Anyway, as usual, I don't want this video going too long. Hopefully some people will get an understanding about Wall Street, the history of it, and how it operates, and how we could change it. We really need a revolution. We don't need these elections. These elections are no good now. We can do that after we get, after we get this duopoly out and get rid of Wall Street, get rid of those political establishment, do away with these brutal police, their brutal police state, and you know, set up. You know, we need to be the ones who it needs to be our agenda, not theirs. We need to take things out of their hands and take things into our own hands. That's because they are not doing nothing, but they've got everything in their hands, and what they're doing is stealing from us. They're just stealing from us. It's just like a vacuum cleaner. They're just stealing. They're just sucking up money. We need to put a stop to it. Anyway, all right. Until next time, arrivederci.